Hello everyone and welcome to this short video about how marketing is garbage. Now, if it's not clear already, I don't mean the whole career field. What I'm talking about is marketing directed to us from oftentimes larger companies. So you can see clearly here a couple sources I have. One is literally labeled with the source 123RF, whatever that is, and Geico, a much more common one. So Geico runs commercials, I think still, you could say 15% or more on car insurance. What does that mean? Okay, so I could say 15% for a trash insurance policy? And just to be clear, I don't know, I haven't analyzed Geico's insurance policies. So they could be great. I really don't know. I'm just using that as an example. I could be sacrificing the quality of my insurance to a degree that does not make a 15% savings worth it, is my point. Ignoring arguments around whether insurance is worth it at all or not, which is also a legal thing in most states. So just ignoring all of that, right? Just literally talking about saving 15% on insurance. It could be totally meaningless. The other thing is more typical of like clothing brands. This up to some percentage off sale. Well, they could have one item in the entire store actually at that markdown of a price. And they can put that sign out front, and it is perfectly okay for them to do that. It doesn't actually have to mean anything for products you may actually want to buy. And even if something is 70% off, what are the odds that it is not marked up so that they can then say it is on sale for an original price, right? Most people just don't keep enough track of prices that they would catch something like that. Again, I'm using a clothing store as an example, but anyone could do it. So this is a really fun one for me because I'm into computers, and I'm using, you can see up in the top right, I'm using Gamers Nexus video frame as an example about what is a processor cooler. So this particular cooler was just a redesign of an old cooler that the same company had, and they said this is 15% better cooling if you look at that circled box there. Well, 15% better cooling performance, how? How did they measure that? Did they... Gabby. Did they decide to use something like Celsius, right? You know, a percentage is 0% to 100%, and this landed at 15. So did they take a degrees Celsius, this is an international company, so that would be more common, change and say, well, the old one ran at 100 degrees Celsius and the new one runs at 85 degrees Celsius? Well, if they did that, it's not really a percentage change because Celsius is not bounded by 0 and 100. It is bounded by a very small number, negative 273-ish. It's been a while since I've taken a science class. Is a theoretical lower bound on the Celsius scale. So what that means is you can't say a percentage and actually relate that to temperature. So at least in Celsius or Fahrenheit. But if they're not relating it to a temperature, what does this percentage actually mean in the real world? And where did it come from and how did they get to it? I don't know. And maybe the engineers know, and maybe it's a lot more meaningful than I'm giving them credit for. But this is misleading to us because it is highly unlikely that this is actually a 15% improvement in a way that we would think about that percentage, right? 15% sounds like it's got 2 digits on it. It sounds like a lot. But how does that translate to the real world? Probably a couple degrees Celsius at best. It might be even less. And even without that, in this case, the thing has fans on it, right? Maybe it runs loud. If I put two 15,000 RPM fans on it in place of the fans shown in the picture, I bet it would run colder too, right? So there's a lot of factors to how this percentage could relate to the real world or be completely and utterly meaningless. And that second thing is, in my opinion, a lot more likely. So this is a fun one. Lots of companies make performance claims. I'm using Intel as an example, but you see this with cars too. What's a fun one? A 0 to 60 time on a car. Well, usually 0 to 60 times are measured with, I think it's a 3 mile an hour rollout, meaning that the car is actually moving rather than being completely at rest. And that changes the 0 to 60 time, in some cases, fairly substantially. But also, these 0 to 60 times are taken under ideal temperatures that no normal person, or temperatures and conditions for the road, that no normal person is likely to experience, even on a track, right? Because this could be taken on a drag strip where they are oiling the surface, or where you do burnouts ahead of time to get the tires nice and hot, and you're just not going to experience that even in a hobbyist track setting generally. Now, if you have enough money to turn your expensive rubber into smoke, I'm sure that we could discuss making a donation to my wallet and my cat. But that's neither here nor there. This particular slide is about Intel and a performance comparison to a competitor, AMD. And what they're trying to do is compare the processor performance of two laptops. And most of the statistics shown here aren't especially meaningful. If you care to decipher them, then by all means. But this up to 20% actually has some hope of being meaningful, like a number based in actual science of some sort. Because a frame rate, right, if you're displaying at 0 frames per second, you aren't seeing anything. But it's a little bit weird to just compare only that percentage, right? There's a lot of factors that can go into that percentage that may be based, again, may actually have been a real number they legitimately recorded in a vaguely real life situation, right? So I can't fault Intel for the scientific feasibility of the number. But there are things to point out. The AMD system, if you look closely, AMD Ryzen 9 4900HS. If you look below there, you see 8C16T, 35W TDP. That 35W TDP is a vague indicator of the amount of heat that the system has to cool for that processor. And depending on how you want to treat that, you can kind of pretend that it's a power draw. So very, very loosely, the power draw of the AMD processor is less than the Intel processor. So getting more out of the Intel processor makes some sense, right? It's consuming more, it may as well do more. Now, of course, I'm grossly oversimplifying this because the frequency of the AMD processor is higher than Intel. The core count of the AMD processor is higher than Intel. The laptops actually had different graphics cards, which also can drastically affect gaming performance. The temperature that these things run at, it can affect performance. Maybe they submerged one laptop in liquid nitrogen and kept it super cold so that it would clock higher and run faster. They don't indicate anything else about the systems. Even they could have put one on battery and plugged the other one into a wall to get the AMD laptop to save power, and the Intel laptop could use as much as it wanted because it was plugged into the wall. So it's not to say AMD is better than it. No, it has nothing to do with that. This is just an example. But this is an example how even if the percentage can be meaningful, when you apply it to something like a performance statistic, it could be absolutely meaningless. I will give them this credit, though. They list what games they use, so at least there's that, but they don't really tell you a whole lot about the settings of the games, so who knows. But the main point is that these performance numbers could be completely meaningless. And just like the 0 to 60 time of a car it could be real, but not achievable to us, to a normal person, even in hobbyist or enthusiast situations. It could only be achievable in a professional situation. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I would say something like comment, subscribe, but that feels so dumb. So just have a good one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to... What, you want to be in the video? Hello, everyone, and welcome to a video where my roof flaps on other parts of my roof. Let's try again.